Good morning. So if you're not already over at your mat, go ahead and make your way there. All right, so we'll start in a seated position. So bring yourself into a seat that's comfortable for you. I like to sit up on a cushion or a block so that my spine is a little better supported and I'm a little bit more upright. And it kind of gives a little bit more ease to the sitting. So take a moment to find your comfortable seat. Let your eyes close and just start to notice how you're feeling today. Whether you are practicing with me live or watching this at a later time, just check in with how you're feeling before we even start to move. And as you're starting to check in with how you're feeling, remember too that you can always skip anything that doesn't work for your body. If there's something that you need to avoid because you have an injury, of course, take care of yourself. And if there's anything that just doesn't feel right in your body, even if you're not injured, you can always skip it or do it in a slightly different way. And so continue to check in with how you're feeling this morning as you also notice how you're breathing. So the way that we're breathing affects how the body reacts to everything that we're doing. The way that we're breathing helps us land into the body and into awareness of the present. So take a few slightly deeper and slightly longer breaths. And feeling yourself expand outwards from your center in all directions as you breathe in, taking up lots of space. And then as you exhale, feel yourself landing into support, into an awareness of the surfaces that you are touching. All right, take one more round of breath in this way. And now as you bring your palms together in front of your heart, interlace your fingers, press your palms forward and up. And then start to reach up through one hand and up through the other side, left and right a few times as you give a little tug on your fingers. Stretching the inside surface of each palm, down each arm, the side of the body, down to the low back, left and right. All right, as you release your hands, take them behind your back. Interlace the fingers there, squeeze your shoulder blades together so you're opening up across your chest, and then start to turn your head from side to side. And checking in with some gentle rotation. How does the neck feel today? All right, and then lift your chin up toward the ceiling. Really stretch out the front of the neck. And drop it down toward your chest. Again, lifting up. And dropping down. And one more time, lifting up. And dropping down. All right, so as you bring your head back up to center, release the hands, let them come to rest on your thighs, and then shrug your shoulders up, take them back and down again, shrugging up and back and down, and then one more time, up and back and down. All right, take your right hand down to the floor and just lean into the right hand. So you're slightly side bended to the right a little bit. And then take your left hand to your left shoulder and start to rotate. So your left elbow draws a big circle in space. All right, change directions. All right, sweep your left arm up alongside your head. And as you reach with that left hand, squeeze and release the fingers a few times, as well as rotate through your wrist a few times each way. All right, with your next inhale, lift up. And exhale that left hand down to the floor. Slide it out a little bit. Slightly side bend to the left. And then take your right hand to your right shoulder and start to circle. A couple of times in one direction. And a couple of times the opposite way. All right, sweep the right arm up alongside the head. And as you reach with that right hand, squeeze and release the fingers a few times, as well as rotate through your wrist. All right, with your next in breath, lift up. And as you breathe out, release your right hand. All right, now, if you are sitting cross-legged like I am, go ahead and shift your seated position a little bit to take your right leg out at an angle. And then we'll just walk that right hand down the right leg, moving the left shoulder back in space. And so adding to this side bending feeling, we'll take that left arm up alongside the head. Now, the limiting factor might be this low back on the left side. It might be the back of your right leg. And if it starts to feel too intense on the back of this right leg, if you have something like a block or a pillow, you could certainly put that underneath your knee just to give the knee a little bit of support here. If it starts to feel too intense on the low back on the left side, you could always take your hand down to take that extra shoulder stretch out of it. And so, whatever expression of this pose you're in, take 3 more breaths. All right, and then after your third breath, lift up. Let that left hand come to the floor behind you, and then take the right hand over to the left knee. Take a deep breath in, lifting tall. And then as you exhale, slowly twist over to the left. So your left shoulder is moving back in space, and then turn your head to look back. Now maintain the twist from your shoulders down, but then just turn the head back over to the right. And then let the head continuously and slowly turn as far to the left and right as is comfortable and possible. All right, take one more breath. And then after that exhalation, slowly untwist, and then we'll switch our legs. So this time taking the left leg out at an angle, fold the right leg back in, and then we'll just start to walk the left hand down the left leg, move the right shoulder back in space, and then take the right arm up alongside your head. Again, if you need some support underneath your left knee, you can put a pillow or a blanket or a block underneath your knee. If it's a little too much on the low back on the right, just take your hand down, or maybe your hands behind your head. And then whichever version of the posture you're in, take 3 more breaths. All right, with your next inhale, lift up. And as you exhale, take your right hand to the floor behind you, left hand over to the right knee. Inhale, grow tall. And exhale as you twist now to the right. Feel the right shoulder moving back in space and the head turning to look back. And then maintain the twist from the shoulders downwards, but turn your head back over to the left. And let your head and neck continuously turn side to side, again, as far as comfortable and possible. So exploring range of motion in a pain-free way. All right, take one more round of breath. And then unravel the twist back to center. All right, so we'll transition onto hands and knees. And so as you bring yourself onto hands and knees, we'll bring hands underneath the shoulders and knees underneath the hips. All right, so as you inhale, let your belly drop, lifting the head and the tailbone. As you exhale, tuck your tailbone under, round your back, and bring your chin toward your chest. Do this a few times. Breathing in, belly drops, head and tail lift. Breathing out, tuck and round. All right, two more. And one more. All right, now as you bring your torso back to neutral, take your knees close together, and then we'll lift the left knee up and out to the side. All right, now start to rotate through your hip. So your left knee is drawing a big circle in space. All right, and then change directions. All right, now the next time that you inhale, reach your left foot straight back behind you. Exhale and pull your left knee in toward your chest and round your back. Two more. Inhale, reach back. Exhale, knee into the chest. And one more, breathing in. And breathing out. As you take your left leg back this time, cross it over the right leg. Drop the toes over toward the floor on the right. And then curve your spine to the right so that you're peeking back at your left foot. Sensing all the way up the left side of the body. All right, as you bring your torso back to neutral, step your left foot forward to your left hand. Scoot your right knee back a couple of inches, and then right hand either stays on the floor, palm on the floor, or maybe you come up onto a fist if it's a little bit much on the wrist. If you have a block, you could also use a block here for a little bit of support, as well as bringing the floor closer. Sometimes it's a little too far away in terms of the intensity in the hips. So a block under your hand can be helpful. All right, and then from here, left hand, left thigh, just slowly twist your torso toward your front leg, toward your left leg. Perhaps it's comfortable to turn your head and look back behind you. And take 3 breaths. All right, after that third breath, return to hands and knees. Once you get there, sit back towards your feet. Take your knees at least a little bit apart. You might take them a lot apart if that's more comfortable. And then release your head down toward the floor, toward your hands, toward a block. As you take a few cycles of breath here, just allowing the back side of the body to inflate as you breathe in. And feel your support as you breathe out. 2 more breaths like that. And one more. right, come back to hands and knees. Take your knees back together. We'll do the second side of what we just did on the left. So start by lifting your right knee up and out to the side. And then we'll start to rotate. A couple of circles in one direction. And a couple of circles the opposite way. And now the next time you breathe in, reach your right foot back. Breathing out, pull the right knee into the chest and round the back. Twice more, inhale, reach back. Exhale, knee into the chest. And one more, breathing in. And breathing out. So as you take your right leg back this time, cross it over the left leg, dropping the toes over towards the floor on the left, and then curve your spine to the left. So you're peeking back at your right foot, sensing all the way up the right side of the body from the foot to the hip to the shoulder. All right, as you bring your torso back to neutral, step your right foot forward to your right hand. Scoot the left knee back a few inches. And then as we did on the other side, you might keep your left palm down on the floor. You might come up onto a fist, or you might put a block underneath your hand for a little extra support. Right hand comes to the right thigh as you start to slowly twist towards that right leg. Perhaps turning the head to look back, and take 3 breaths. And then after your third breath, return to hands and knees. And once more, sit back towards your feet into child's pose. Again, you can take your knees together or apart depending on comfort. Your head might hover above the floor or rest on the floor on your hands on a block. Take 3 rounds of breath, feeling the back expand on the inhalation. And feel your support on the exhalation. All right, one more breath. All right, as you come back to hands and knees, now we'll tuck our toes under and lift up into downward facing dog. So hips go up into the air. Start with a little bend in your knees. Drop one heel toward the floor as the opposite knee bends, and then switch back and forth a few times. All right, walk your hands and feet toward each other so that you come into a forward fold, shifting all of your weight back to your feet. And as you're folding forward, you might take a little bend in your knees. You might also step your feet a little extra wide apart if that's more comfortable. Release the weight of your head, gently shake it yes and no. All right, one more full breath. And then walk your hands up the fronts of the legs. As you come to stand, take your feet about hip distance apart. And then with your inhalation, press your hips back in space. Take your arms up into the air. And begin to shift a little more weight into your heels than the balls of your feet. So that now the next time you exhale, you can press into your heels, rise up, and reach your arms back in space. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale as the hips go back, arms come up. Weight into the heels, exhale, rise up, and reach back. All right, one more time, breathing in. And breathing out. All right, step your left foot forward, step your right foot back, and then take a moment to peek at your feet. If each foot is in its own lane of the mat, imagine your mat has a center line. If each foot is in its own lane, it's a lot easier to balance. If you want the additional challenge of feeling like you're balancing on a tightrope, your feet could be closer to the center line of the mat, but that's not necessary. So with each foot in its own lane, we'll take the arms forward, let the palms touch. Feel the connection of the feet with the mat, the palms with each other. Take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, twist to the left. So left arm goes out and back. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale the arms back together. And exhale as you twist. All right, one more time, breathing in. And breathing out. All right, as you bring your left hand forward this time, pull the hands in toward the heart. Shift your weight forward so that most of the weight is into your left foot. All right, keep shifting the weight until you've got more and more weight in your left foot. And then maybe the right toes are just barely touching the floor. Or if you want a little bit more of a balancing challenge, bend your right knee, pulling your heel in toward your hip. All right, so as that right knee is moving back in space, this right heel is pulling in toward the hip. Now you might keep your hands together in front of your heart. You might take your arms out to the side for a little bit more balancing support. All right, take 3 breaths. All right foot down to the floor underneath the right hip. Shift your weight to the right. Give your left leg a little shake out. And then we'll keep the right foot forward, step the left foot back. Again, organizing your feet here so that you feel pretty steady. Again, each foot could be in its own lane so that you have sort of a wider balancing base. Or you could have your feet sort of on a tightrope in the middle. I kind of like them apart. All right, we'll take the arms forward, palms touch. Feel the connection your feet make with the mat and the palms with each other. Take a breath in. Exhale as you now twist to the right arm back. Twice more, inhale the arms back together. Exhale and twist. All right, one more, breathing in. And breathing out. All right, bringing that right hand forward, palms touch, hands come into the heart. Shift your weight forward, mostly onto the right foot. You might just have the left toes barely touching down. And if this is adequate challenge, stay here. If you want a little bit more challenge, you can bend your left knee, pulling your heel in toward your hip. So we're really trying to get the back side of this left leg engaged by pulling the heel in. Again, your hands might stay at your heart. You might reach out to the sides for a little bit more of a balancing support. Keep pulling that left heel in. 3 more breaths. All right, then release your left foot down to the floor. Shift your weight to the left. Give your right leg a little shake out. And then with your feet about hip distance apart, we'll inhale and reach the arms up into the air. Exhale and fold forward, bend your knees, take your hands to the floor. and step backwards into downward dog. Hips up into the air. 2 breaths. All right, the next inhale, shift forward into plank pose. So your shoulders are over your wrists. Now, if you're feeling pretty strong and you want to keep your knees up, that's fine to do. If this is not a posture you practice very often, you might take your knees down and just lift your feet. And then we'll all take one more breath in. And then as we exhale, bend the elbows and bring the belly and chest all the way down to the floor. All right, and then from here, take the arms back alongside the torso. And then as you inhale, lift your head and chest, lift your feet, lift your arms, squeeze the shoulder blades together. So you're feeling the back side of the body contract and engage. To gently open the front of the body. Couple of breaths here. All right, and then let yourself melt into the floor. You might turn your head one side or the other. Pause there, letting the whole body rest into support. And then just let your knees bend. Sway the feet side to side. All right, releasing your feet down to the floor. Walk the arms forward so that your elbows are underneath your shoulders. Gently pressing down into your forearms, lift your heart and reach it forward. Now, if you have any uncomfortable pain or discomfort in your low back, you can just let yourself sink down a little bit. You could also walk the elbows forward a little bit so that you're not causing quite as much compression in the low back. Take 3 more breaths. All right, and then lower your heart down to the floor. Turn your head one direction or the other, and then scoot your right knee up and out to the side. Very similar to a tree pose. You've just got your right knee up and out to the side. So this causes just a very slight amount of rotation in the torso and gives you a little bit more space for the belly to move as you breathe. Take 3 rounds of breath. All right, and then after your third breath, just slowly switch which leg is out to the side. So straighten out that right leg, take your left knee up and out to the side, and turn your head the opposite way. Again, as you're inhaling, you're sensing this expansive quality of the body, expanding in all directions. And as you're breathing out, softening, relaxing into support. Take 3 more breaths. All right, after your third breath, let that left leg straighten alongside the right leg. Press yourself back up and into your seat. All right, as you come back into your seat, we'll take our palms together in front of the heart. And as we bow to the light within ourselves, we also acknowledge and bow to the light within each other. Thank you again for practicing with me today. During the month of March, my goal is to do this live class every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Central, as well as every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Central. So I've got all the rest of the lives loaded up on my YouTube. So feel free to hit remind me or whatever the notification wording is if you want to participate in the other ones too. So thank you. See you again next time. Bye bye.